The dropout that created Domino's Pizza with a $900 loan. Across all the takeout and delivery pizza services and restaurants that now populate our life, one stands tall above all others, having passed the test of time and spread itself around the world. A giant. No, the giant of the pizza industry. The only one that can out-Pizza the Hut. The McDonald's of pizzerias. We're talking, of course, about the one and only Domino's Pizza. Or rather, we'll be talking about its fascinating and almost destined foundation, and the men behind it all, Thomas and Jim Monaghan, the one and original pizza baron and his brother. Today we learn their stories. Let's set up those dominoes, and may the chips fall where they may. This is Moolah TV, but before we start, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss any of our videos. Off to a rough start. Humble beginnings. Few moguls and millionaires seem to have had such a tough series of rough patches at the beginning of their amazing race towards business success and riches as the two Monaghan brothers. Thomas Stephen Monaghan was born in 1937 in Ann Arbor, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit. His little brother would be born the next year. The family lived in a small farmhouse built by his father on land purchased from his grandmother. Water came from a nearby stream until they could afford a pump. That's how rural of a place we're talking about here, folks. When he was 4 years old, tragically, his father died of peritonitis on Christmas Eve, 1941. 2 years later, unable to take care of both the boys and maintain her studies and employment, his mother placed him and his younger brother James in an orphanage run by an order of nuns, the Felician Sisters. Their stay at St. Joseph Home for Boys lasted for 6.5 years, until his mother was able to reclaim them. From this experience, Monaghan developed a love for the Catholic Church, an appreciation of architecture from taking care of the huge old mansion where he lived, and a sense that he could achieve anything from his beloved teacher, Sister Berarda. Trust us, all of these are going to be important later. Not everything went easily after Mom got the kids back, though. Like we said, the Monaghans were off to a rough start, even with Thomas helping his mother at home by selling vegetables and fish he caught himself. Apparently, both the brothers were hard to deal with, a handful if you will, especially our millionaire-to-be, Thomas. As it would turn out, the boys didn't seem to be quite cut out for school or formal education. After leaving the seminary and dismissing the tempting idea of becoming a priest due to a lack of general discipline, Thomas returned to Traverse City and attended St. Francis High School for a short time. His mother, becoming exasperated with his antics, placed him in a juvenile detention home. When his aunt and uncle found out, they were able to get him released into their custody. Monaghan finished a stunning 44th in a class of 44 at St. Thomas High School in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He hoped to go to college, but his grades were poor and he had no money. Thomas then enrolled in architectural trade school at Ferris State College in Big Rapids, Michigan, and worked odd jobs to pay his tuition. He hoped to transfer to the University of Michigan, but lacked the funds. A poster advertised paid college tuition if he joined the Army. This caught his attention, and he filled out all the paperwork almost immediately. Little did he realize, or rather too late did he realize, that he had accidentally joined the Marines. As he put it in his own words, he was duped. That wouldn't be the first time our poor pizza baron would meet the bad end of a deal either. Apparently, after managing to survive his 3-year tour of duty in the Marines, Thomas naively invested the $2,000 he had saved for tuition in a get-rich-quick oil scheme. He never saw his money again. The guy just bolted with poor Tommy's savings. Word is that he fell for a myriad of schemes like that as he tried and tried again to start his own business. Eventually, though, his little brother would approach him with a moderate and humble idea. You see, Jim heard that a pizza shop in Ypsilanti, Michigan, going by the name of Dominic's, as in one guy was called Dominic and the other Nick, was going out of business and up for sale. The owner was asking for a measly $500, plus about $400 in debts. Easy money, right? If the brothers actually had most of it, that is. They had to take out a loan for $900 from the bank. And so the brothers bought the business. It was just a little side investment too. They had no intention of making this a lifelong career. Jim kept his post office job, and Tom intended to return to the University of Michigan, although he eventually dropped out. A year later, Tom's brother Jim would actually drop out of the business himself, trading his 50% stake, get this, for the first delivery car they used in the pizzeria, a busted-out Volkswagen Beetle. Now that's one deal he's probably still kicking himself over. A little bit later, Tom decided to throw himself fully into the business. He managed to buy 2 more locations and would later come up with a certain policy that could be said to be the secret of his massive success. Setting up the Domino's, the Pizza Tiger. As of today, Domino's Pizza is the world leader in pizza delivery. Whether you love their pizza or hate it, we personally love all pizza equally here, you can't escape the ubiquitous red, white, and blue logo. There seems to be a Domino's franchise every few blocks in every American city, and even abroad, and that's actually not that far off. Domino's Pizza employs more than 290,000 people in 73 countries, when you include franchises. You can get a pepperoni pizza in 30 minutes or less in 5,700 cities around the world. If you ever find yourself in Kosovo, you can chow down on some za at one of 5 locations. Today, there are approximately 17,000 Domino's locations, with the bulk of them located in the US, UK, and India. As of this writing, Domino's has a market cap of $14.5 billion, with annual revenue nearing $4 billion. But of course, as we've seen so far, it wasn't exactly 30 years of smooth sailing for our now 100% owner of the company, Thomas Monaghan. After losing his one and only partner, and even with 2 sister locations opened, the business was struggling. Tom had many reports of pizza-related fraud and theft. Some of them he had to deal with his own bare hands. As in, literally, he would have to fight drunk college guys who were trying to steal his pizza, or people who would set up ambushes for his delivery guys. Later, during his startup years, a fire broke out on their central location in Ypsilanti. As in, the location where they made the pizzas they sold. On top of all that, the pizza delivery gig had a lot of competition at the time. Things seemed dire, but our savvy Mr. Monaghan earned his nickname, the Pizza Tiger, by understanding that his business needed an extra edge over all the others. This advantage would come threefold. Firstly, the pizza box. Monaghan invented an insulated box that would not only keep the pizza warm, but also support the weight of multiple boxes on top of it. This allowed several to be delivered at once, without the box's lid sagging and causing the cheese to be stuck to the top. Secondly, the policy, now a staple of every delivery pizza place in the world. The infamous 30 minutes or less delivery system gave the shops a much-needed bump in calls from clients. This actually led to the third edge: aggressive, territorial expansion. You see, like any good architect fanboy, Tom knew that to support a massive structure, you needed a massive network of weight distribution. Which is to say, to be able to make all the deliveries on time in under 30 minutes, he was going to need franchises and shops all over the place to be able to cover them. And so Domino's focused on very aggressively and quickly buying and occupying up locations. Not too dissimilar from the McDonald's model. There were some drawbacks to all this, though. By 1970, this unrestrained expansion had put Domino's into $1.5 million of debt. Monaghan turned the company over to Ken Heavlin, a local businessman, on May 1st, 1970, to avoid bankruptcy. Within a year, he regained control, and by 1973, Domino's had recovered, meaning our once orphaned college dropout had some, and by some we mean tons, of disposable income. So how did our favorite pizza guy spend his newfound fortune? Same as anybody, really. He pursued his hobbies. By 1983, he had become wealthy enough to buy his hometown baseball team, the Detroit Tigers. In just his first full season as their owner, 1984, they won the World Series. But while his team was making history on the field, Monaghan made 2 decisions that seemed to insult the team's off-field history. He announced that Tiger Stadium, which had opened in 1912, needed to be replaced, asking for subsidies from the city to build a new stadium. Although he said he wanted a new stadium in the Detroit area, he did explore moving the team to the suburbs, much to the chagrin of the fans. Although the city government wouldn't approve the plan to build Tiger Stadium's replacement, Comerica Park, until the team was later sold, Monaghan got the blame for it far more than the new owner. Monaghan also approved the firing of the Tigers' beloved broadcaster, Ernie Harwell. The outcry from Tiger fans was so great that Harwell was eventually rehired under new ownership. While all that was going down, he also continued fostering his love for architecture, specifically the works of Frank Lloyd Wright. Monaghan amassed one of the world's largest collections of furniture and artifacts created by Frank Lloyd Wright. At its peak, his collection had more than 300 items valued at $30 million. Monaghan established the National Center for the Study of Frank Lloyd Wright and built a 10,000-square-foot museum to hold the collection. In 1993, Monaghan closed and emptied the museum and began to sell the collection. He retained the Prairie House on the grounds of Domino Farms, which was built in the style of Wright's Prairie Houses. At one point in his career, Monaghan owned over 250 antique automobiles, including an $8 million 1932 Bugatti Royale, housed in a museum especially built for them. He purchased Drummond Island, a resort on the Michigan-Ontario border, with its own golf course called Pepperoni Links. Monaghan also owned 5 boats, 3 planes, and various other companies. Now that's a lot of dough. Or cheese. Cheese and dough, like pizza. Lots of pizzas is what we mean. Catholic reawakening. In the middle of all this luxury and wealth, Monaghan admits to have been suffering from a personal crisis. He felt empty and devoid. That is, until around the early 90s, he stumbled upon a certain book, Mere Christianity, by C.S. Lewis. Apparently, it revolutionized his belief system. He decided to sell Domino's to Bain Capital for $1 billion. But he wouldn't keep much of it. Tom had decided to abandon his life of luxury, dedicating over $500 million, that's half of the pie, folks, to a myriad of Catholic organizations and charities, from shelters to colleges. And so it goes that a once orphan in rags went to riches and found his spiritual consciousness. What do you make of all this? Could you give away half of your fortune to try to better the world? Which topping do you think goes best on pizza? And what other rags to riches story would you like to be featured on our channel? Drop a like and a comment, and let us know.